Begin right away with breaking news. Well-known conservative activist Charlie Kirk is dead, and the shooter is still on the run.
All of this has unfolded just in the past few hours. Here's what we know right now. The shooting happened at an outdoor event at Colorado Valley University. Kirk was speaking at a debate hosted by Turning Point USA. That's a conservative youth group that the 31-year-old co-founded. Local officials say police are still investigating or searching for the shooter, and a tip line will soon be active in relation to that case. That's after initial reports of someone in custody by investigators turned out to not be the suspect, but that person was charged with obstruction of justice. The university says the shooter fired from a building that's about 200 yards away from where Kirk was speaking to a large crowd. Two local news reporters were there and described the moments leading up to the shooting.
And it was a really happy, excited atmosphere. We talked to some girls who were they were freshmen. They were excited to be around other conservatives. And then the question leading up to it, a kid came up and he asked a question about how many transgender shooters there were, and Charlie gave him another comment, and then he asked one more question. And so the question was about shooters, and before Charlie Kirk could pick up the mic again, that's when the shot happened.
Authorities say Kirk was shot in the neck, again speaking at Utah Valley University. Once again, police are still searching for the shooter. We'll bring you the latest updates tonight at 10 and 11. Other breaking news we're tracking for you tonight. At least 3 students were shot at a high school in Colorado. The shooting happened just after 12 o'clock today at Evergreen High School, which is about 30 miles outside Denver. All 3 students are in critical condition tonight. The Jefferson County Sheriff's Office says one of those students is the shooting suspect. We'll continue to follow these stories around the clock. Once new information about both of these breaking news stories is released, we'll be sure to keep you updated on air and online.
WTOL 11 Plus now is Toledo's only live, local, exclusively streaming newscast. Bad news for fans of the Adams Street Zombie Crawl here in downtown Toledo. The event's organizer announced on Facebook that after a dozen years, the event is officially dead. The event saw thousands of people dressing up as the living dead, shuffling up and down Adams Street and bringing in big dollars to the area. But organizers say the event soon became too expensive to keep it going. Michael Sandlin has more.
For 12 seasons, early October meant you could see thousands of zombies crawling up and down Adams Street. But instead of brains, they were seeking beer.
It was a lot of fun. It started out as very much a grassroots group of friends kind of doing just sort of a bit of a neighborhood lark. And it grew every year.
By 2017, it unofficially broke the record for largest zombie gathering, with over 17,000 wristbands sold. And the thousands in proceeds that came from it went to public works up and down Adams. The trash cans, the pride flags, even a separate street sweeping team than the rest of the city. But the more people attended, the more restrictions and security measures Adams Street needed to implement. And by 2023, the little grassroots effort was becoming a full-time expense.
The last year that we had the zombie crawl, the city and TPD in particular, they created a lot of restrictions on access to the event and created a lot of gates that had to be moved through in order to get approval from the city for this event, and those all led to less people coming in through the doors. And it was just created bottlenecks for the attendance, and the money that was raised inevitably didn't cover the cost of the event.
So last year, the village took a year off to consider their options. And after thinking it over, much like the monsters it was based on, the Adams Street Zombie Crawl is dead. However, Wesley's owner Micah Risher says, with Adams Street's evolving image, maybe it was time to say goodbye.
So we just kind of realized that we need to move forward in a different direction and throw events that are more about the neighborhood, more about the community aspect of this, and less just a celebration of excess.
Michael Sandlin joins us now. Michael, so this has been a fundraiser for a while. I've been aware of it. So what happens to the recipient of all this money they get?
Yeah, so the Village on Adams was the nonprofit that would receive this money every year, and now that there's no longer going to be a zombie crawl, the question then goes, well, how are they going to raise money for their public works? So Adams Street's really interesting because they have their own trash system, they have their own street cleaning system, they have flags that they put up that aren't paid for by the rest of the city. Well, they got together, that being all the bars and businesses in that area, and they decided, well, why don't we just do a bunch of smaller nonprofit events throughout the year? So they already say that they have this all figured out. They're going to be able to continue to pay for their own system, keep that going. And they say they're even looking into changing the tax law so that people living in that area would also be contributing as well.
Well, Adams Street does have a lot to offer, so there's a lot of potential there to do something no matter what they choose.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've already seen it with like their block parties and stuff like that. Some of those smaller events still bring in a huge crowd, so I'm sure they're still making a ton of money.
I never made it to Zombie Crawl. I don't know if you did or not.
I didn't know.
Are we seeing a time now where the zombie craze is finally starting to... Are zombies dead?
I think they are. You know, The Walking Dead was so big back in like
It sure
2011, and I'm sure you remember the Dawn of the Dead films back in the 70s and 80s. You don't see anything zombie related anymore. So maybe it's like one part, you know, it didn't quite work out for them, but also maybe the public just got a little sick of it. I don't know.
Maybe, just maybe.
Yeah.
Michael, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Kaylee?
Well, from breaking news here in Northwest Ohio to stories making headlines across the country and globe, we are keeping you up to date with what's happening right now. First, a mishap at a California shipping dock. Several containers fall off a cargo ship. Plus, President Trump's emergency takeover in D.C. expires today. And an elderly couple killed in their home. The suspect is still on the run tonight. But first, Russia launches a series of drones over Polish airspace. Russia launched a series of drones over the area, and overnight, NATO quickly scrambled fighter jets to shoot down multiple drones. No one was hurt, but a house was severely damaged. The White House said President Trump was set to speak with Poland's president. President Trump said on Sunday he was prepared to apply new sanctions on Russia and that he expected to talk with President Putin soon. Yesterday, he said that conversation would happen within a week or two. The White House has not yet said if the Poland air incursion would change those plans. Authorities in New York City are searching for a suspect in connection to a horrific double homicide. Police believe 42-year-old Jamel McGriff tortured a 76-year-old and his 77-year-old wife inside their home Monday before setting the house on fire with the couple inside. Officials say the suspect had gone door to door in the neighborhood asking for help shortly before the crime took place. McGriff is a registered sex offender and was out on parole after serving a 16-year prison sentence for robbery. Police say he should be considered armed and dangerous. The emergency declaration behind the federal takeover of Washington, D.C. expires today, according to the mayor's office. President Trump can't control the city's police force for more than 30 days without Congress. Analysts expect that he will continue his D.C. National Guard deployment and federal law enforcement surge. Police say homicides, car thefts, robberies, and violent crime is down since the takeover. Republican lawmakers are introducing bills to expand federal control of D.C.'s justice system, and the president says other cities are in his sights. A major mishap at a California port Tuesday morning. Nearly 70 shipping containers plunged into the water at the port of Long Beach. It happened while the cargo ship Mississippi was docked at the pier. Aerial footage shows the containers floating in the harbor with shoes and clothing floating on the surface. No injuries were reported, and cleanup efforts to get the containers out of the ocean are underway. Port officials say investigators are now trying to determine what went wrong.
I feel like the Holy Spirit told me, say, hey man, go back and get that stuff and find out who the rightful owner is.
Plus, a cowboy on a mission. He wants to find the rightful owner of the horse saddle right there after it was left behind. Chris?
Well, a very dry weather pattern continues. We already have moderate drought in effect for much of the area. I'll let you know if there's any hopes of rainfall in my full forecast coming up next.
If you're watching us on WTOL 11 Plus, you already know about our exclusive streaming platform. Did you follow WTOL 11 on social media? Right now, there's video you have to see on our TikTok page. Sophia Perricone breaks down a law that could go into effect in Ohio.
Or not to declaw? That is the question being asked in the Ohio State House. Senate Bill 252 was just introduced in the Buckeye State. It would make it illegal to declaw cats unless medically necessary. Animal advocates say this is long overdue. Advocates say declawing isn't just a nail trim. They say it's literally cutting off the first knuckle of a cat's paw. Experts say it can change the way they walk, lead to long-term pain, and even cause behavioral issues. So why do people still do it? Well, some say it's because people want to protect their furniture. PETA says there are ways to do that in a humane fashion, though, like giving a cat scratch posts, nail caps, and just keeping up with nail trimming. If the bill passes, violators can face fines starting at $1,000 and going up to $2,500 for multiple offenses. If it passes, Ohio would join 5 other states and Washington, D.C. in banning cat declawing. So what do you think? To declaw or not declaw?
Follow WTOL 11 on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, or your favorite social media platform. Follow us now to stay ahead of breaking news, weather, and the stories that have people talking. John?
Well, the mild and dry September weather continues into the start of the weekend. That mild feel with temperatures over 80 degrees going to be likely for the next couple of days and also staying mostly sunny and dry. So any hopes of rainfall going to have to wait until at least the weekend. But even then, rainfall is going to be very hard to come by in this forecast. Over the course of your Wednesday evening, temperatures have been gradually falling back to the upper 70s. Still very mild, though, and expected to be a nice and comfortable evening for those after-school sports practices. Totally dry and quiet on radar and satellite. Although we will continue to monitor drought conditions that could be expanding, if not worsening. A moderate drought is in effect for much of the areas right along the Maumee River and south, including down towards Hancock and Henry counties. Zooming in on that brown color, that is a moderate drought that is likely to be growing in the coming weeks as a result of the lack of rainfall. And we'll have an updated drought monitor coming for you Thursday with new data based on the latest rainfall trends. High pressure over Pennsylvania, going to keep dry conditions around. You'll notice not a drop of rain across the Buckeye State, and that's true of Indiana, Illinois, and much of the Great Lakes in the Midwest region are totally devoid of any rainfall. So let's talk temperatures into the day tomorrow. We're going to be in a similar territory, upper 70s for much of the day with those high temperatures topping out in the lower 80s. Weather impacts ahead. Late week is going to be very sunny and mild. A quiet stretch of weather. Comfortable conditions are expected for those Thursday and Friday plans with temperatures near or above 80 both days. There is going to be a very scattered chance for a passing shower or two. Don't get your hopes up for any meaningful rainfall totals, but as we look ahead towards the latter half of the weekend, Saturday night and into Sunday, could produce some isolated sprinkles or light rain showers. And overall, the middle of September, going to be an awfully dry and mild weather pattern with a lot of 80-degree temperatures that'll be commonplace and also relatively little to no rainfall. So looking at that Friday forecast, Big Board Friday going to be a nice and comfortable feel. We're going to be in the mid-70s right around kickoff. Temperatures are expected to stay in the 70s through halftime, dropping back to about 68 by the third and the fourth quarter. And the weekend forecast near or above 80 degrees both days. A slight chance for a brief passing shower come Saturday night into Sunday, but that is a very slim chance. And again, most areas will likely stay dry, and any rainfall we do get barely enough to wet the pavement and not any meaningful totals. There is going to be a weak cold front draped to the north of us that could potentially spark those isolated showers Saturday night and into Sunday. And we're going to start to get some better data in the next day or two that should shed some light on just how widespread this rain will be. But as of now, not looking like a drencher for sure, and not looking very widespread at all. Only a 20% late Saturday and into Sunday. Most of the weekend going to be totally dry and mild with temperatures over 80 degrees. And into next week, those 80-degree temperatures are going to be commonplace. We actually warm up to the mid-80s by the tail end of the forecast. And it's possible some areas go a full 10 days without a single drop of rain. Dan? Kaylee?
A Houston cowboy is on a mission. He wants to return a saddle to its rightful owner.
Our sister station in Texas has the story.
I ride my horse in the middle of the street.
I mean, that's how we do it in Houston.
You may have seen Chico Dion and his horse Estrella trotting down the city streets over the years. The lifelong cowboy is a familiar sight on the north side. 2 weeks ago, a passerby said he had a saddle for sale off of Waco Street.
I followed him to an old abandoned house, and outside the abandoned house was a grocery cart.
This was inside. Chico bought some tack, but originally left the Mexican or charro-style saddle behind,
This is a big horn right here, and this is a small horn.
which is the Western or American-style saddle, which he rides. But the car mechanic was back the next day.
I feel like the Holy Spirit told me, say, hey, man, go back and get that stuff and find out who the rightful owner is.
Chico bought everything else for less than $100, saying it is easily worth thousands.
Whoever saddled us, he must rope. He got the rope because you got rope burns around here.
He believes the bit and other equipment are priceless and not just for sentimental reasons.
Once you train your horse with certain bits, this is stuff that you use for your horse always.
There's no name or serial number branded onto the gear, but this is a clue, a twist on caballo, the Spanish word for horse. Chico, who is Afro-Cuban, is looking for the owner and posted on social media in English and Spanish.
Oye, yo puedo decir en español también porque mira.
Yeah, I know Spanish too. Look, this is a charro-style saddle. He believes the owner is a Spanish speaker. If it's yours and you can describe the tack accurately, contact Chico or KHOU.
No me debe nada, and he don't owe me nothing.
Why is Chico, a veteran of rodeos and trail rides, going to all this trouble?
I've had my stuff stolen before. I've had my tag, I've had a trailer and stuff, so I know how that feel.
But more than that.
I live by Christian standards, and I also live by the cowboy standards. And that'd be the thing to do.
That's the cowboy way.
Still to come, the Supreme Court recently lifted restrictions on immigration enforcement tactics in California. Flock leaders speaking out tonight about this, how it could affect Northwest Ohio.
Plus, another election is on the horizon, and several people want a seat on Toledo City Council. Tonight, we'll introduce you to one of the newest members of council and why she wants to keep her seat. Thank you for being with us here on WTOL 11+.
Here's some of the other stories we're tracking for you tonight. The Supreme Court says ICE agents are able to rely on factors like race or occupation to stop someone. This comes as the high court reversed restrictions that were in place in California. Local activists say this sets a precedent for other states, even though the decision is directly related to ICE raids in California. The president of Flock says ICE agents being able to profile people is a step backwards.
We need an amnesty. That was what they called his Immigration Reform and Control Act. So we can repeat that now and go a little further and prevent this from being repeating the cycle by having better trade agreements and foreign policies.
White House border officials say ICE agents do not racially profile. They say they are well trained and use a group of factors to make an arrest.
The brothers and sisters of Toledo Fire and Rescue are mourning tonight after a longtime colleague is put to rest. Firefighter Brett Langston, who is also affectionately known as Birdie, died suddenly last week. Langston was assigned to Fire Station 17 on Central Avenue and the Maintenance Bureau for more than 3 decades before retiring earlier this summer. His family and friends held services at the historic Church of St. Patrick's today. The funeral flag will be flown at Toledo Fire buildings throughout the end of the day.
Driver's ed laws are about to change, impacting a majority of young adults who don't have their license yet. Anyone 18 or older used to be able to bypass driver's ed to get their license if they successfully pass their driver's test. But at the end of the month, that age will now raise to 21. This is part of a new law which will require everyone younger than 21 years old to go through the same driving education, which includes 24 hours of classroom training, 8 hours behind the wheel with an instructor, and 50 hours of driving with an adult.
We're trying to fix, what's broken, and in the long run, it's just going to better everybody. It's going to better you and I that are out on the roads, and everybody else. It just makes it safer.
Driving instructors also say this law should help minimize crashes involving 18 to 21-year-olds. The law will take effect September 30th. 12 people are running to fill 6 at-large Toledo City Council seats in the November 4th election. Until then, we're introducing you to each candidate so you can learn more about them and make the best decision for yourself. Brittany Jones has been on Toledo City Council for a year and a half. She was appointed by council in February 2024 and then re-elected in November. Jones says the biggest challenge so far during her time on council has been learning the ropes of how everything operates, but says she's ready and excited to keep going if voters elect her back to her seat.
I'm very open to new ideas. I'm not afraid to try new things. I'm not afraid to have tough conversations either. But as long as we get to that end goal, we can have our disagreements, just make sure it's done. And I feel that I can really add a new element and a new perspective to some of the issues that are here within the city. And I'm just ready to work.
If reelected, Jones says she wants to focus on homeownership, childcare, and food security through the next 4 years. This is a list of all 12 candidates in the running. Again, we'll be speaking to each of them ahead of the November 4th election.
I want to take a moment to mention Flag City Honor Flight. More than 80 veterans, mostly from Vietnam era, spent yesterday in Washington, D.C. A lot of monuments, Arlington Cemetery. Always great to see regular folks come up and thank these guys, but they were not expecting this last night. Grand Air Terminal was jam-packed with friends and family waving signs and flags, making it a very, very special homecoming from the Honor Flight. But it meant so much more. Several we talked to were in tears. It was hard to fight the tears myself there. It brought back memories of pain from the late 60s and early 70s when these guys were felt ashamed to wear that uniform and serve their country. This is why Flag City Honor Flight has struck a chord with these veterans, helping them heal not from the trauma of war, but the coming home. And the first guy you saw coming in there when the door opened was Bob Helly, who is from Dunbridge, Ohio, just in the suburbs here. And he was a POW in North Vietnam for 5 years, a Marine that was captured during the Tet Offensive, and to this day holds no bitterness at all. Amazing story.
He spoke about being tortured, correct?
He was tortured, yeah.
And he kind of seemed, light about it. When I remember watching that interview with him, and it was incredible the things he was saying.
He was punished so severely, he actually struck the commandant of the POW camp, and
Wow.
they made him pay for it. He's still suffering from that today.
Wow. All right. Thanks, Dan. Great job on that yesterday. Well, on a new episode of Off the Radar, the Radar Rangers have a football-themed draft. Listen.
All right, welcome back into Off the Radar. Woo. Mark, you're coming to hang out today. This is going to be fun. Yeah, this is cool. I told you things are going to look a little bit different from here on out. We are doing our first ever fantasy weather draft.
We get to work the computers.
Isn't this fun?
Yeah.
How does it feel back here?
Like, I feel powerful.
So we've got all of our teams here, and we had to come up with names, of course, for our teams, right? So we've got Mark and I together. Below us, we've got Tiffany and Kaylee. Hi, ladies.
Hello.
And then, of course, in the control room, the dynamic duo. Look at that. You guys want to tell us? What's your team name down there?
We are the Charge and Chip. Oh, yeah.
You got to talk like a chipmunk the whole time.
So if you're unfamiliar, just by happenstance, one time these two happened to just start talking like chipmunks together, so they're kind of the dynamic duo down there. All right, ladies, Kaylee and Tiffany, what'd you go with for your team name?
We are the, what was it? Something Tornadoes. Touchdown Tornadoes. Yeah. Touchdown Tornadoes.
Wow, sounds like you're going to need some more swag or something there. All right.
Touchdown Tornadoes.
Touchdown
Let's go.
Tornadoes. And then, Mark, you came up with our team name.
Doppler Dudes.
Doppler Dudes. I like this name. This is pretty cool for us
Dude.
here. So here's how this is going to work. So all of us have the ability, just like in a fantasy football draft, we need a quarterback, a running back, a wide receiver, and defense.
I'm nervous. Why are you nervous, Al? I don't know. Alvin.
Alexis, do anybody here do a fantasy league, like real fantasy football league?
I have.
Yes.
Mark?
In the past, I have as well. Mark, you're actively in one, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you know how this works. So we have 32 weather terms there, from microburst to rainbow, humidity to squall line, everything in between, that our teams can pick from one at a time. And just like a regular draft, you can pick whatever term you want, or player in this case.
That's right.
And put them in whatever slot that you want.
I like it.
Any
we
questions?
We have a special, like, you know how on the big networks we have
the
little
pick
tone.
is in.
Oh.
Let's hear that tone.
Okay, what do we got?
No.
Oh, I like this. You know what we were missing? We should have gotten we should have done like little envelopes.
Oh.
The pick is in. And had like guest. Oh, we should have had guest people reading it.
Well, you fumbled that, Ryan.
We'll do it next year. This is the first year you build it up. Right.
Yeah.
Build it up. This is the inaugural Off the Radar weather draft. So let's get started. The weather dudes are going first.
Okay. Right.
Mark, would you like to announce our first? Is the pick in?
The pick is in.
Wait for the little sound. Maybe.
The click of the button.
I think the click of the button was louder than anything else.
You can watch the full episode of Off the Radar next on WTOL 11+.
John, I don't know who's responsible for this weather, but just keep it coming.
Yeah, I'll take the thanks for it. We got a full 10 days of this. You know, hardly a drop of rain, and I know they say Labor Day is the unofficial end of summer, but not really feeling like it.
No.
Those 80-degree temperatures going to be common for the next week or two. A very slim chance for a passing shower that would come late Saturday and into Sunday, but I'm not holding my breath for any widespread rain. It's looking very light and sparse. Next week, starting off around 80 degrees and gradually climbing above average. By that point, our normal highs down in the mid-70s, so getting those 80 to 84-degree days. We'll take them while they're here, because they're not going to last forever. Dan, Kayla.
I think our Big Board Friday crew is just blessed because this weather throughout the Fridays has been fantastic.
They've really gotten lucky.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us here on WTOL 11+. We'll see you tonight at 11 o'clock.